Welcome to my garden. My name is Stacy and I garden in Zone 8A, North Texas. In my backyard, I have raised beds, containers, and a couple of in-ground areas. We're going to start the tour off right here next to my back door where I keep some of my most used herbs. And it's really convenient to be able to step outside the door and just clip off a little bit of anything I'm needing. I even added a rose this year. I'm pleased with how well these pots are doing right here next to the door. It also makes it really easy to tell when they need to be watered because these terracotta pots need to be watered a little more often. I'm growing a couple different varieties of raspberry this year, but they're all gold raspberries. I heard that they were sweeter, but so far the ones I've tried have been pretty tart. So I'm hoping as they mature they'll get sweeter. And I love the color on these flowers. These are super petunias, and I'm going to make sure I have room for those every year. There's just one plant in each pot, and they have just grown so quickly. In this bed, I have some sweet potato slips that I recently transplanted, and so I have a little trellis for those leaves to grow up. There's ginger and turmeric in the bed behind it, and this is the last of my onions. It's time for me to harvest those. Bee balm and mullein in the bed above it. So back over in this corner, I had two cucumber plants. There's a muncher cucumber and a dragon egg cucumber. I have since removed these two plants because the vines were chewed on and it looks like they had powdery mildew starting already on the leaves. The garlic that I harvested this year was tiny. The bulbs last year were much larger. And these are 3 tomato plants I got as starts from the big box store because I wasn't sure how well my plants I started from seed would do. And these are peppers in these 2 layers of the Greenstalk. Right here against this fence line is one of the new planting spaces I added to my garden. It's an in-ground flower bed, and I have this summerific evening rose hibiscus that I'm excited to see if I can grow. It has dark leaves and big pink flowers, so I think it should be beautiful. This is my Miwa kumquat, and it's putting on bloom, so I'm hoping that I'll get a lot more fruit off of it this year. And down here I have a crinum lily, and it's supposed to get pretty big, so I hope I've left enough room for it to fit in that area. There's actually 2 of them. My loquat tree, and then I have 2 volunteer sunflowers here. So I'm not exactly sure what they're gonna look like because I had Mexican sunflowers here last year, but they don't get that big, so I'm not sure what that'll be. And then in this herb bed, you can see that my mullein is in full bloom. And so each morning these yellow flowers open up and they are beautiful. I hope to be able to save a lot of seeds from this plant this year. Over in this corner, I have a pineapple sage plant, and in the pot next to it is a small mulberry tree. This vertical planter has herbs and flowers in it, and I gave it a makeover because it was starting to rust, so I spray painted it black, and the baskets that were in it were starting to crack up from sun exposure, so I replaced all of those and it looks like new. In this planter we have chamomile and 2 different types of nasturtiums. Nasturtiums are usually the first thing to go. They just can't stand the heat in the backyard. So I know it's been much milder this year because they're still hanging on. This bed has all peppers and 1 eggplant. So I have 2 Durango peppers, a long eggplant, fish pepper, Lesia pepper, jalapeno pepper. There's also a black Hungarian pepper and a lemon drop pepper. In this pot, I have some Lipia alba, And this one is one of my honeyberries. I have a blue velvet honeyberry in that pot and more flowers here. And then a blue moon honeyberry. There's another raspberry. And in this middle pot, I have lemon balm and also another raspberry. This bed has all the peppers that we planted in my last video together. And they're starting to put on flowers, and some of them are starting to have fruit. So those are doing well. And nothing in this bed yet. These hanging baskets have vinca flowers in them. And there's borage and chicory, toothache plant, and some mullein. And there's a couple moringa trees there. And then back behind these beds, I have a lot of shade-loving flowers. So there's some begonias back there, coleus, and some tiny hostas. And I have some alocasia planted against this fence line. Also more coleus. There's a Boston fern. So it's kind of shady in that corner. And here's my strawberry bed that has been eaten up. I thought the netting would work, but it had lots of holes in all the leaves. And this is my Jamaican sorrel hibiscus. It's off to a good start so far. I have a knockout rose. It's a pink rose, pretty bright pink. A couple of extra coleus plants planted back in this corner, and one of my other Meyer lemon trees, another Boston fern. And right here is my black mission fig. And then I have a dragon egg cucumber. I have some dahlia tubers planted here. And this one is a scarlet halo donut peach tree. This is my Olympian fig tree. And then I have another pepper here. It's a candy cane pepper, and those are some herbs planted in with it. Then I have some white marigolds and a donut nectarine tree. And this is my Lang jujube. This jujube has put on a lot of new growth since I got it this spring. And right down here in the front, I have a Puna Kira cucumber. And then planted in between each of these planters, I have some flowers, and the taller ones standing up are some gladiola bulbs that I planted in between each planter. So I'm excited to see how they look when they come up. I decided to get a second Greenstalk planter this year. And at the top, I have some Love Lies Bleeding Amaranth. And there's beans all around the center and some Swiss chard at the bottom. I gave these planters a makeover. I spray painted them all white to refresh the color. And I have a couple of different types of squash. There's peppers, tomatoes. In the back, I have some comfrey. And there's a bait alpha cucumber and also a lemongrass plant. I can see the beginning of decline in these squash plants, so I think the squash vine borer has already gotten them, but I'm just going to leave them there and see if the squash on there will go ahead and mature. Behind this bed, I have some flowers. The larger zinnias I transplanted, and then I started seeds in between the transplants. There's also some dahlias in the black pots. Back over here, I have an elderberry plant that I started from a cutting from one of my other plants. It's an Adams elderberry, and I transplanted it last year, but it didn't do too much. But this spring, it has really taken off. You can also see that the birds have started to get at some of the berries that are forming as well. But it's doing really well in this back corner. I added a trellis to this bed this year, and the yard is on a slope, so it looks a little uneven, but it's in there really sturdy. Have a couple of dwarf sunflowers there, some Swiss chard. I also grew onions in this bed, and I have some purple hyacinth bean vines that I plan to grow up this trellis. As you can see, most of my tomatoes have these cages around them, and I think growing out the box, check out his channel, has something similar in his garden. But mine are here to protect these tomato plants from rodents. Last year they got in and they ate up all of my tomatoes, and they started to eat the stalk. So hopefully this will protect them. I left a few uncovered that I'm willing to sacrifice. I have a Georgia collard plant here that I'm letting go to seed. And then along the edge of this bed, I have some echinacea flowers planted. And I have this solar powered insert in the bird bath. And I just want to make sure the water keeps moving so the mosquitoes don't come and make a home in that water. I found this little basket where I can hold plants on the side of the bed. And so it's been really convenient to be able to put a few extra planters right there on the side. And these are dwarf sunflowers and some pineapple sage starts that I'm looking for a place to put. And right over here next to the gate, I have a red Abyssinian banana tree. And then on the other side, a metalhead alocasia. So this is how the garden is looking so far in spring 2023. I am pleased with how everything is doing, and thank you all for watching. Happy growing.